So after repeated attempts to dodge COVID for the last couple years, well, unfortunately I ran out of stamina and it finally caught up with me. Which you can no doubt tell if you listen to how nasally I sound, which I apologize for in advance, but this is something you're probably going to have to put up with for the next several videos. Now, if you're still willing to watch even despite how terrible I no doubt sound, then Genshin Impact actually achieved something this week that almost no other gacha game before it has achieved, and pretty much no gacha game in history has achieved as fast as Genshin Impact has. Before we go any further, I just want to take a moment here to thank all of the absolute chads and chadettes that support this channel via Patreon. You're all freaking legends. Seriously, each and every single one of you. I would offer to give each of you a kiss, but I suffer from severe intimacy issues. Additionally, if you want to stay up to date with all the latest MMO gacha and gaming news, take a second here to follow Mrs. Stix and I over on Twitter. We tweet daily. So, Sensor Tower, which is the website that the majority of us use to get a gauge of how much each gacha game earns with regards to each specific platform and each respective region, went on and made a blog post titled Genshin Impact generates $3.7 billion on mobile in its first 2 years. And before we go ahead and read through this, I do want to note that this is directly pertaining to mobile. This does not factor in the PC earnings. This does not factor in the console earnings. And this also disregards some of the earnings within China as well, as is further elaborated on over on Reddit. According to this, which has Genshin as being 85% of their income, Sensor Tower reported in the same period of time that Genshin made $515 million versus the site listing it as 1.2 to 1.3 billion, meaning that China mobile plus PC plus console is about 2.3 to 2.5 times the amount reported on Sensor Tower, which only collects data for areas outside of China on mobile. It probably already got to 8 billion, which I think is a bit of a stretch. I honestly don't think 8 billion is realistic. Probably like 5, maybe 6 million or billion. Definitely not 10 billion. Although at the same time, you know, I guess I wouldn't really put it past them. Hit cross-platform open-world adventure ranks as the #3 revenue-generating mobile game worldwide across the App Store and Google Play since its launch. Although if we just take a moment here and scroll down, it lists Honor of Kings as 5.5 billion, PUBG Mobile at 4.9 billion. So realistically, if you factor in console, PC, and Chinese earnings, this would probably be the #1 grossing mobile game, the #1 grossing gacha game, and probably one of the highest grossing video games in the entire video game franchise. This game, Genshin Impact. Genshin Impact from MiHoYo has generated $3.7 billion from player spending worldwide across the App Store and Google Play since it was first launched on September 28, 2020, Sensor Tower Store Intelligence data reveals. The title, which is celebrating its second anniversary this week, ranks as the #3 revenue-generating mobile game globally since its release. It sits behind PUBG Mobile from Tencent at #2, which has accumulated 4.9 billion over the past 2 years, and Honor of Kings, also from Tencent at #1, which has picked up 5.5 billion outside of China. Genshin Impact ranks #2 for mobile game player spending, racking up 2.5 billion internationally across the App Store and Google Play. It ranks above Candy Crush Saga from King at #3 with 2.3 billion, and just behind Roblox from Roblox Corporation at #1 with 2.5 billion. Now, I guess down here they do go on to state that it does not include revenue from third-party Android stores in China or other regions. Utilizing Sensor Tower's game intelligence tools, our data shows that Genshin Impact is the #1 revenue-generating mobile title worldwide that harnesses gacha monetization during the past 2 years, ranking above Rise of Kingdoms from Lilith Games at #2 with 1.7 billion, and Three Kingdoms Strategic from Alibaba at #3 with 1.7 billion. Admittedly, neither of those games I've ever heard of before. What the hell is Rise of Kingdoms? Is this like a Clash of Clans game? This looks horrible. Are there actually people that genuinely play these kinds of games? What about Three Kingdoms Strategic? So these are the kinds of games that are the most popular type of gacha. These kinds of games are more popular than Blue Archive, Azure Lane, Punishing Grey Raven, Honkai Impact, literally any other kind of gacha game out there with the sole singular exception of Genshin Impact? What are these people smoking? I guess that's proof that waifus aren't the sole driving factor behind gacha gamers' spending habits, right? During the first quarter of 2022, the global mobile games market experienced its first year-over-year decline in player spending, falling by approximately 5% to a little more than 21 billion. Quarter 2 2022 followed a similar trend as revenue decreased by about 7% to 20 billion. Genshin Impact has defied the larger market trend, however, as player spending rose by 16% in the first quarter to 556 million, while the second quarter revenue increased by 28% to 413 million. In the third quarter, however, revenue for the game looks set to decline, even despite the release of 3.0 with the Subaru region. Or was that? No, that was definitely in the third quarter, right? Although I guess with 3.1 releasing, maybe third quarter or fourth quarter will see a substantial incline. What happened in the third quarter of 2021 that saw such a monumental increase in player spending? Apparently, the rise in revenue coincided with a major content update for the game, which launched in September 2021. It looks like Genshin Impact 2.1, which was the first update after the Inazuma region was released, happened to come out in September. So I guess that's the reasoning behind their monolithic difference in terms of earnings with regards to the second quarter of 2021 and the fourth quarter of 2021. China ranked as the #1 market for player spending in the mobile version of Genshin Impact during its first 2 years, generating 1.2 billion, or approximately 33% of total revenue via iOS alone. Sensor Tower does not track spending on third-party Android stores, such as those found in China. Japan, meanwhile, ranked #2 with about 24% of revenue, while the United States... So Japan, which has, what, 10% of the population of America, actually spent more, 7% more than the US did. Wow, Japan loves their waifus. Okay, you know what? Yeah, I can believe that. The App Store accounts for the majority of Genshin Impact's global player spending, accumulating approximately 68% of global revenue. Google Play, meanwhile, accounted for 32% only, at least outside of China. However, there is a much more even revenue split, as Google Play accounts for 48% of international player spending, while the App Store makes up 52%. After generating 2 billion in its first year, Genshin Impact continues to be one of the world's most lucrative games and is the most significant new intellectual property launch on mobile since Honor of Kings, while seeing an even greater influence on the international stage. Developer MiHoYo has taken the learning from its past games, such as Honkai Impact 3rd. You guys are gonna have to excuse me here. I have had almost no sleep over the last few days, which itself has now surpassed $1 billion in global player spending, which is great, but when compared to Genshin Impact, which has made 6 times, maybe 8 times as much in half a third of the time, I guess is a little embarrassing, and applied them to huge success. Combining an effective gacha monetization system with an almost industrial scale live operation strategy, supplying regular content updates and popular new characters, MiHoYo has kept Genshin Impact relevant and bucking the recent trends of the rest of the industry. And that is in no small part due to Pixiv, Galboru, Danboru, Rue34, and all those other image board websites and image sharing websites. Now, Genshin Impact, like literally month after month, quarter after quarter, year after year, manages to break records. They are redefining what it means to be a successful video game, and more than that, a successful gacha game. Despite what people think, despite whether or not you like or dislike the game, you cannot deny its gargantuan success, the quality of the game, and what they have achieved. What do you guys think though? Do you believe that Genshin is deserving of all of the money it has earned? Do you think it is deserving of all the attention, all the popularity that it has obtained? Let me know down in the comment section below, and I guess maybe let's talk about it. Now, Whether or not you like or dislike Genshin, you're probably gonna like one or more of the games in one of these videos on screen right now. One is pertaining to a game that I actually kind of enjoyed that I played recently. The other is a list of the 10 most played gacha games currently available right now, the gacha games that everyone else is playing, that I urge you to go ahead and take a look at.